Hello, my name is Mario Chavez, and you have no idea who I am, but I've recently begun a campaign for amicus support on my current petitions before the New Mexico state courts. The reason I'm reaching out to you is because you are an organization that defends due process. And a lot of the people that you represent across the nation or across the state are people, indigent defendants like myself, that have been corralled into the criminal justice system and then deprived of basic fundamental fairness. And it's your organizations like yours that defend those rights, because civil liberties and the basic tenets of justice and equality that we stand on in this country aren't just, or rather don't just exist because they're written on a piece of paper or in a document. They exist because people, we the people, defend those rights on a regular basis. Now, I've outlined the details of my case thoroughly in the message that I sent you. And I'm encouraging you to read the petition I now have before the court, and I'm not going to go through line by line every detail of that issue, but I wanted to have an opportunity to meet you. I wanted you to have an opportunity to be able to see who I am, and to be able to hopefully take into account what I have to say now, because the issues that I'm facing are issues that affect the whole nation. And all around us, we are watching as the erosion of due process takes place. I mean, not just with the Department of Education or deportations or federal employees losing their jobs, et cetera, et cetera. It's an issue that's happening on all around us. And more than ever, we need to stand up and defend due process. And I'm asking your organization to consider doing just that in an amicus support brief. I mean, the basic tenets of my case is that I was convicted of murder in 2006. And I've always claimed my innocence throughout this whole ordeal. And the only direct evidence of my guilt was an accusation made by another suspect who, while in custody, decided to save himself at my expense. Now, the Constitution's Sixth Amendment demands that I have a right to confront my accuser, but that didn't happen because of a prosecutorial tactic where prosecutors pigeonhole accusations and exceptions to hearsay rules. And in a federal court, what happened? Now, after that happened, in my case, my attorney, my trial attorney, attempted to defend me, which is the right to present a defense. And he attempted to introduce many of the lies that same suspect had given to police in his statements, in his testimonial statements, and introduced those so as to impeach the credibility of those accusations. The court allowed it. The court allowed it because it was relevant to my defense, but then once it started to happen, the court changed paths and said, no, it wasn't going to allow it unless the entirety of those records came in under the rule of completeness. Now, that's not allowed. That violates state law, it violates state precedent. It wasn't allowed, but it happened. Now, what ends up happening more times than not in these cases is that juries convict on emotions. Juries convict on the presumption that if you're there before them, you must be guilty of something. The problem is that due process was not upheld. The problem is that even the ancillary issues of my case, which were the fact that on top of the issues I've already mentioned, I was convicted of an armed robbery for the victim's missing wallet. Along with armed robbery was tampering with evidence. Now, the problem with those charges is that there's something in American jurisprudence that's called burden of proof. Meaning that the state has the obligation to prove every element of every crime for which they charge, but there was no evidence whatsoever that I ever had any contact with this wallet. Even the man who was accusing me, the police asked him for 21 times if he'd ever seen or heard me talk about the wallet, and he denied any knowledge of the wallet whatsoever. So how did I get convicted of a wallet that I never had? That's the question. And it's currently before the court. But the problem is the court doesn't just follow the law. More times than not, the courts side with finality over fundamental fairness. And the only reason that they won't do that is if organizations like yours, with which accumulate and amount to lots and lots of voices, speak up. And I'm asking you to help me because the issues that I'm facing are issues that face defendants all across the country. Thank you. And look, also, if you would like to speak to a lawyer about this case, please. I have a legal advocate who's been helping me for years. His name is Jason Bowles of Bowles Law Firm in Albuquerque. And he'll be more than willing to speak to you about the very allegations that I'm making here and the reason for your needed amicus support. Thank you.
That was